Okay, so I thought I'd make a quick video showing what happens with these driven clutches on the club cars. This clutch here was used as a driven clutch starting in 1988 when they redesigned their clutches. This clutch up here is the style that was used from 1984 to 1986, 87, I think, 86. 84 to 87, 86, somewhere around in there. Then they redesigned and went to this style. This particular clutch here, I've already taken the C-clip out of it. There's a C-clip right here. See, I can push it down here. And the C-clip goes in and holds it. I'm not going to do it because I don't have the strength to do that right now. And then there's a keyway that goes in here. And and then the C-clip goes in, but I've already taken it out. This particular clutch already has the power spring that you can buy for the upgrade. I got this through Parts Plus in 2013, and this is the power spring right here. It's thicker than a stock spring. The stock spring for I think it's the 88 to 96. The spring is white, and it's thinner than this. And the spring for the 97 to, well, 97 and up somewhere, 97 and up spring is green. The white spring, the older one, and the green spring, the new one, are both directional because Club Car changed the rotating direction of their motors in 1997. From 88 to 96, the motors rotated counterclockwise, and then in 97 they switched them and started running them clockwise. So they had two different springs, and the stock spring, I don't have one here to show you, but the stock spring has like a tab that comes up right here, and it goes down in these little holes, and there's also holes here on this one. See the holes there? And you clock the spring in at a certain direction. So if you're running different, the different motors, you need to get the right spring, or else your clutch isn't going to work properly. The beauty of the power spring is it has no tabs. The spring is tough enough and stout enough that it doesn't need to be clocked, and it doesn't need to go in those holes to be held. It's stout enough that it won't rotate, and it'll work properly without being clocked or having to be directional or anything like that. So this one's good to go without a tab. The other thing with this clutch, now this particular clutch has a rattling issue, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but when your clutch is first starting out, it's pushed together, and as you speed up, it separates out, and the belt sinks down into the sheaves. As you get it out farther and further, what happens is this hole starts to get elongated over time, and it doesn't fit true to the shaft, so it starts to rattle. And I'm going to try to show you this. I don't know, I'm kind of moving it here. Like once it gets out a little bit, it starts to rattle on the shaft. I don't know if I can't really get it. It does rattle, but it doesn't take much. But it'll rattle, because it doesn't fit true down here, because over time it's kind of hard for me to recreate this, but it does do. Okay, see, there it is, kind of. See how it's moving a little bit? That'll make a noise when you're driving. What'll mostly likely happen is you'll be driving on a flat ground, or your motor will not be under load, but your sheaves will be out, and it'll just rattle. But when you go like up a hill or something, and the belt really tightens up in the sheaves, it stops because the belt tension keeps it from rattling. But then when you go back down the hill, then it'll start rattling again. There's really not a fix for that. You kind of just have to get a new clutch. But the beauty of this style clutch is that you can buy a clutch that's listed for, like, let's say you have a 1993 club car. It's a counterclockwise clutch, counterclockwise motor. But all you can find online are clutches for 97 and up. You can buy the 97 and up clutch, but you'll have to take the spring out and put the spring in from your bad clutch, the one that has the correct clocking direction. It'll be the white spring. You'll need to put the white spring in the new clutch and put it back together. You know, put this down over it, put the C-clamp, you know, and the keyway and all that. And then you'll have a brand new stock clutch for your older club car. But that's just something that you can do. And one other thing that you want to be aware of when you put these on is to use never sees. You want to, you know, use the never sees brush, and you can brush the input shaft on the transaxle. Just make sure you get a lot of never sees in there, because these things can seize up over time on the input shaft. And I mean, I've done this myself, and I've seen other guys on our forums where this clutch here has seized to the shaft. I mean, rust and oxidation has gotten in there. I mean, it's supposed to technically just slide right off the shaft, but if it gets, you know, rusty and whatnot, this will freeze up on the shaft and you won't be able to get it off, and you'll end up having to destroy the clutch to get it off, which is what I had to do with one of my clutches. I ended up breaking off the sheaves, these two sheaves, completely with a hammer, and then I ended up having to use a saw. You know, I think I used my Dremel with a circular blade, and I just had to end up cutting through this, and I had to be careful not to cut the input shaft, but I cut through this, and I finally was able to chisel and break it off, and then it came off. That was a relief. But you definitely don't want to have to go through that. So whenever you put a new clutch on, you know, get some never sees in there, or, you know, you'll thank yourself later, or the next owner who owns your car will thank you. So you definitely want to do that. But yeah, to put this back on, you know, you put the spring in here, put this down over top. And I'm not going to do it because you kind of need a buddy to help you, because especially with this power spring, you have to push this down. And I'm not pushing it down far enough, but you have to push it down far enough, and you have to have the keyway in there while you're doing it, to push it down far enough so that you can get the C-clamp into that little ridge there. You know, when you get this thing all the way down, and get the C-clamp in there with the keyway. And then once you do that, I mean, if you have a press, this is really easy. But yeah, so there's that.